The South African government says the third COVID wave has passed its peak. Officials are to meet next week, this weekend, to discuss potential easing of restrictions. Cases have dropped sharply, and the health minister says that vaccinations are now picking up. The strongest wave yet has left a path of destruction behind it. The COVID surge came as tensions spilled over after the former President Jacob Zuma was arrested. More than 300 people died in riots that followed. The government estimated the losses at $3.5 billion. With me is Fani Titi, the CEO of the financial services firm Investec. Joins me from Johannesburg via Skype. Sir, it is good to see you. Thank you for joining us on a Friday night. The message that South Africa has sent to the world, rightly or wrongly, is one of awfulness in terms of vaccines and COVID, and horror in terms of riots. How do you square that? How do you mix that into what you tell investors?
Thank you for having me, Richard. Obviously, the last week was a very difficult week in the last 27 years of democracy in South Africa, because the level of instability and insecurity that was evidenced everywhere in KwaZulu-Natal and in parts of Gauteng was very disconcerting. And as you say, on the other hand, we are making significant progress in terms of our vaccination program. The government initially had set a target of 250,000 vaccinations per day. We are now looking at about 400,000 middle August. So yes, a tale of two cities, as it were.
What would you say, though? How do you convince somebody to invest in a country where the perception remains one of basically economic incompetence and arguably corruption?
Look, the government has been doing a lot of work to fight corruption. You referenced the fact that the former president, Mr. Jacob Zuma, is now incarcerated. That alone shows that the country is making progress in terms of the rule of law. There have been a number of other arrests relating to the corruption that we have seen over the last number of years. So there is some progress, but that progress is not unfettered by some challenges like we saw last week. We have to start, I think, with local investors showing confidence in the economy in terms of rebuilding from what happened last week. And over time, as we make more progress, I believe that international investors will look again at the country.
You see, that's the point. You've put your finger on it. The opportunities in South Africa have never been greater, larger, more exciting. Emerging market with a rule of law and a stable democracy, it should be roaring ahead. Are you optimistic that the necessary reforms can be put in place, even under what is de facto a single party?
I think we were at the cusp of significant progress. You may know that the government had liberalized the energy sector through allowing corporates to generate their own energy. And there are a number of other reforms that were being implemented. So the riots came at a most inopportune time. We are a commodity economy, as you know, and commodities have done particularly well, and government finances were beginning to improve as a consequence. So at a point when the investment case was looking particularly strong, we've had this setback, but we've got to try to build back better, build an economy in a country that is more inclusive, because there will be actors, bad actors, that will try to destabilize the country in future again. The response of government was shockingly inept, slow, not with the right scale. And I hope that the government will be more prepared next time if some of these instigators try to destabilize the country again.
You know, viewers to our program know about my Snap investment, which managed to lose a fortune but has come back strong at the end, as we've been talking about. Is it a case with South Africa? If I had $1 to spare, would you suggest South Africa?
South Africa is an emerging market that has deep pools of liquidity, a strong private sector, a strong governance infrastructure in terms of the Reserve Bank, the Treasury, And as I said earlier on, we were beginning to implement a number of reform programs. I think on the back of those, if there is courage from the president and the ruling party to implement structural reforms, we can see the economy come back again. But there has been a setback, and it may take a bit of time to rebuild.
Fani, one of the reasons I love having you on the programme is the forthright way in which you tell it to us, and you don't sugarcoat the pill. When it has to be said, you're the man who'll say it about South Africa. Thank you, sir. Have a lovely weekend.